Hello, my name's Sarah, and I love sharing Jesus with Muslims. And one of the things they ask me frequently is, how can a man be God? How can you make a man God? And of course they're referring to Jesus. And often they would just tell me, Jesus is not God. And to answer this question, I say, okay, let's start with your Qur'an. What does your Qur'an tell me to do as a Christian? I'll take them to Al-Madiyah, which is chapter 5 of the Qur'an, verse 68. And in that verse it says, O people of the scripture, that's Jews and Christians, so that includes me, people of the scripture, you stand on nothing until you uphold the law of the Torah and the law of the gospel, and that which has been given to you from your Lord. And so I asked my Muslim friend, look, in your Qur'an it's telling me to uphold the law of the Torah, which is the Old Testament, or we could say the first 5 books, or the Old Testament. Torah means several different things. But the New Testament obviously is the Injil, the Gospel. I have to uphold it according to the Qur'an. Also in the Qur'an, chapter 10, verse 94 says this, O Muhammad, if you're not sure about anything, go to the people of the book. Again, that's Jews and Christians, that includes me. So I'll say to my friend, look, your Qur'an is telling me to uphold the law of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Also, it has enough faith in the people of these books that it tells even Muhammad to go to them if he's not certain about what Allah has sent down. So when I do go to my books, the Old Testament and the New Testament in the Bible, what do I see? I see a God in Genesis who comes down to earth. He came down in Genesis when he spoke to Adam and Eve, right there in the garden, walking and talking with Adam. The same God came down, spoke to Hagar when she was there in the wilderness. The same God appeared to Moses, appeared to Abraham. And throughout the Bible, we see God coming down. But we also see the books of the prophets, and the prophets are saying, yes, one day Messiah will come. One day Messiah will come. And we see the first thing that God does when the children of Israel are taken out of slavery, out of Egypt, God takes them to the desert and he gets them to build a temple. And he says that my presence is there, but one day it will be destroyed. Now we get to the New Testament. The New Testament is all about Jesus, the Messiah, the one to come. Jesus, it tells us in John 1, is the word sent down. God come down with flesh, obviously. Looks like human beings. He came to save us, so we're human beings. He came as a human. He came down and he said at one point, if you destroy this temple, I'll raise it up in 3 days. And when he was arguing with the Pharisees, he says, something greater than the temple is with you. What is he saying? God had already promised that his presence would be in the temple. Now Jesus is saying, look, I am that temple. There's nothing new about God coming to earth, and Jesus is just a fulfillment of that. Jesus is God come down. And as your Quran tells me to go to my book, I go to my book. This is what I see. I see Jesus showing that he is God. We see that he is worshipped. We see that he puts himself in a special place. He calls himself the Son. He separates himself from the rest of us. He says, just the Father, not the Son, nor the angels, nor anyone else. He separates himself and he talks about his Father, and because of him we can do things. But the most important thing about Jesus, the most important thing that we need to remember about him, is that he kept saying over and over again that he will die. After 3 days he will rise. Why did he say this? Why did he say he had to die? Why did he say that after it he would rise? Now, many of my Muslim friends will agree that Jesus was raised from earth, but they will say he did not die. If you take Jesus seriously, you have to acknowledge he said he will die. He will die. Again, it goes back to the temple. In the temple, they would produce sacrifices to cover their sin. Jesus says, I am that perfect sacrifice, and he covers all of our sins so that we can be close to God again. So not only do I believe Jesus is God, I believe Jesus came and did something so important for us that we could not do for ourselves. He made a way for us to be close to God again.